What's happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Gotta be quiet. It's too early in the morning. I don't want to wake the neighbors. 9:45 in the morning, 9:48 at this point. Early starting show. Hopefully your mornings are going well. Welcome to the show, gang. What's happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Wake up. Baseball time. 12:15 start on DraftKings and on FanDuel for us today. Lot to talk through before we get rolling. Had to get the show started early. Projections, home run picks, stacks board, everything's up on the website for you to tear through. Game by game snapshots as usual. Good looking slate. No weather concerns really, at least per Mr. Roth. Getting a makeup opportunity to go to Chrissy Sanchez, Logan Webb. Getting a makeup of the Astros and Orioles game that was looking juicy for power. That one's coming back and really nice looking target as far as home run upside goes in that one. Paul Skeen's on the bump, taking kind of the Scooble role from yesterday. Interesting slate last night. How about those Nats? Break up the Nationals all of a sudden. We're going to definitely have to take Cade Cavalli seriously going forward. Another nice game out of him. And just a big outburst out of those Nationals. But, man, if you just went and used yesterday's home run column to put together lineups, and you were building a Rockies and Nationals stack for whatever reason, you would have had Brady House, you would have had Hunter Goodman in those lineups. Those guys destroyed last night. How about Hunter Goodman? How about those Rockies in general? We're all over that one. There's an odd slate with the various cancellations, the pieces coming on and off the board last night, and late night game ended up not really coming through again. Royals only scored, one run? I think it was a 5-1 game in the end. Couple pieces of the A's came through, but that Colorado-Cincinnati one was the real juicy spot of the day. But a lot to get through today. We've got a redux of that game on deck as well here. That one's showing us some of the higher totals of the day, although the Rockies are more relegated to sub-4 total despite the good hitting conditions in Cincinnati. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that. Andrew Abbott's been kind of all over the place this season. Reds pulling a slate leading 5-1-3 total, though. But there are other spots that are very close to that. The 10 runs in the Royals and Athletics game, that one's only on FanDuel. DraftKings, you get this block of games. FanDuel left that one on. That does start a full, 2 hours after everything else? So just be aware on FanDuel. Yeah, it's 140 for the Diamondbacks and Brewers, and then you got to wait till 3:05 for that one. So you do get a little bit of a late mid-afternoon hammer with that game. Hopefully it actually comes through this time. We'll see what it ends up being. But 483 implied on the Royal side, 5+ on the A's. Definitely going to be appealing. Definitely going to draw some lineup shares toward that one just via projections. If you're optimizing, if you're simming, you're going to get some results from that game. There's a lot to work with today. Starting off the top, the Tigers in Atlanta to face the Braves. It's Framber Valdez on the mound for the Tigers. We know Framber pretty well. He's been a little up and down to start the season. A few runs here and there. The strikeouts haven't exactly been peak form, but when he's going right, he's very, very good at limiting power, limiting home runs, keep the ball on the ground, find his strikeouts, get through 7-8 innings. He's very, very good typically at pitching deep into ball games. So Framber's on the board at worst, but a 4.51 implied total. That's pretty high for a team facing Framber Valdez. That's given the Braves some respect, and honestly, the respect that they're due at this point. We just saw them put a couple runs on Scooble last night early. He got it together. He ended up with a 40-plus point night, but they tanked his win bonus at the end of the slate as well, unfortunately. Matty Olson walked the game off with a home run. Bryce Elder going for the Braves. 4.11 implied total for the Tigers. I kind of see that just on what we know is true about those two pitchers. I see that total honestly flip the other way around, but is what it is. Elder's been pitching well throughout the season. A few runs in each of the last 2 games, but got through 7 innings against the Phillies last time out, gave up 3 earned runs, only struck out 2 in that one, but he's been capable and over the years has shown us some capability. I just think more middle of the road when we're telling the truth about him. The Astros and Orioles game, 4.43 implied on the Astros side, 4.69, both pretty solid looking totals. This is the rematch or the makeup of yesterday with Peter Lambert against Chris Bassett. Unless something changes, let me just double check. Technically, the Astros, as of a few minutes ago, had not confirmed that it is Lambert for the first game. Damn it. And now it's Brendan Young, apparently. Oh, no, that's the second game. Excuse me. So, all right. So we're getting McCullers. So it's McCullers and Chris Bassett in the first game here. So I do need to change that out. Let me have a second here. I knew that was going to happen. As soon as I saw that it was blank on the board. Let me just triple check. That's coming from MLB. Yeah, Graphs still has Lambert. Yep, so we're getting McCullers now. All right. I will swap that. I think I just accidentally closed out your view of the screen there. Let me just give me 1 sec. I'll pop it back on. All right. The important thing, I think, bear with me, gang. Just got to make this quick pitching change so that we're talking about the right guy, getting the right numbers here. Just 5. That's about right. Hang on. I know this is thrilling. Ah, there he is. And then... oh, so that's fun. All right, so that's going to change a little bit on the O side of things. Fine for run output. All right. We're back. So what you didn't see in the back end there was me. I was just swapping out and making sure that McCullers was where he needed to be. But what you didn't see, had this been on the screen, you would have seen the Orioles were pulling some pretty nice home run marks, and those did come down when I swapped it to McCullers. So just something to note, Lambert had bigger home run numbers pushing toward the Orioles. That said, they're still at an excellent overall fantasy average across the 9-man lineup. They're pulling a 4.69 implied total. Let me make sure that hasn't changed, actually. And we can do that while we're talking about this. All right. 9 runs. So this is now 111 minus 120. So the Orioles actually gained a little bit of total with the switch to McCullers. He had one good start just to begin his year, and it's been a little bit bumpy since. So getting back into this one. So now it's Lance McCullers pushing plenty of total toward the Orioles. A little bit less power than they had been showing against Lambert. I'll make a note of that on the stacks board and the power index, but we probably won't have time to fully change the entire thing. So just be aware. But still looking pretty good. And there is plenty of home run upside on the board against McCullers, just long memory in the model. If we were just using, this year, recent memory, it would be higher numbers anyway. So I think we're okay with what we're showing as far as the Orioles. And definitely the support from that run total, and all their fantasy projections are still pretty aligned to a good opportunity there. It is still Chris Bassett on the bump for the Orioles. Our home run pick of the day actually comes from the Astros and remains intact. No change on that one. I typically look at Chris Bassett as more of a target than anything else. He's pitched somewhat effectively in a couple of his starts, but he's also gotten tattooed a couple times already this season. Definitely think there's reason to go after him on the board there. The hell happened here now? I don't know whose board that is. St. Louis against Pittsburgh. It's Hunter Dobbins making his debut for the Cards, going up against Paul Skeens. Obviously, we're targeting Paul Skeens for his upside, going up against that young Cardinals lineup. They can be frisky, but 287 implied total, 288 definitely is a clear indicator that we can consider some Paul Skeens. 424 implied on the Pirates side. Some Cardinals coming back the other way against Skeens, probably inadvisable, but definitely some Pirates going up against Dobbins makes some sense to me, at least some of their bigger bats. And that is a stretched out lineup that we know we can get to a little bit for DFS. 7 run total in the game, but Pittsburgh's getting a healthy chunk of that. So I hope that keeps them, on the board, but maybe slightly under the radar for people who just glance at the game total, don't think about how it actually breaks down. That doesn't look on the surface like it would be an overly appealing game. This one is the rematch. Let me make sure that is still the case. I believe it is. Logan Webb against Christopher Sanchez. We talked that one through plenty yesterday. We'll go over it again, though. 2 excellent run limiters, 2 guys who keep the ball in the yard. 332 implied total, a little bit higher on the Giants side than I believe than it was yesterday. 385 fills right about the same area. Those guys do project pretty similarly again. If memory serves, Chrissy Sanchez pulled a little bit ahead of where Logan Webb was. That reminds me that I actually do have to, since we're changing out to Lance McCullers, I should probably put him on the board here. All right. Let me get this uploaded real quick for the to the website, and then we'll be good. Lance is right-handed, 76 on FanDuel. That's not a terrible price for Lance McCullers, honestly. I don't love the spot going up against the Orioles here, but Lance is cheap, and Lance can find the strikeout from time to time. Just something to be aware of. We'll go through it. Let's save this guy. And we'll give this guy an upload, and then we'll be ready to talk this slate through. Early morning issues. Hopefully your day's off to a good start. Everybody caffeinated out there? I've been trying to get some coffee in me. What did I just do? That one's the pitchers. As I'm not completely caffeinated and not properly caffeinated yet, I'm clicking on all the wrong things. I almost uploaded the pitchers to the basketball tab, which would have helped exactly nobody, but probably confused people looking at basketball later on. We do have some of the confirmed lineups in. Those are up on the site as well. Rotoscouts.com is the website for anybody not familiar. Under $1 a day gets you access to everything. Everything MLB, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Projections for every slate of those. NFL right around the corner. Same under $1 a day gets you access to every piece of content, every single thing that hits that website, including the pitching projections, which have just been updated. Okay, so there goes any advantage that might have been created by starting the show at 9:45 instead of 10 o'clock, but here we are. Stephen Leibowitz, yeah, morning drive time. Love it. I need somebody like, with a honk, making prank phone calls. You need a weather person. News on the 10s. News and traffic, 10-10 wins. couple people in the area might know what that is. Rink Natos here says, looks like we're choosing between Skeens, Sanchez, Woodruff, Soroka today at starting pitcher. Who do you see as the least owned? Probably out of that group, Soroka, I would imagine. I don't think people are fully buying in, and people might be going away from the Brewers a little bit. We'll talk it through as I pull up the pitching board here, though. Let me just continue down through this. I don't think we finished. That one, we talked about this. So pitching matchup there. This one, again, launching pad. Reds very much in play. Rockies, I'm kind of intrigued. Just with Andrew Abbott kind of scuffling and just with that Rockies lineup being pretty decent. So we'll at least give it a look. The Nationals and the Mets, 474 implied total on the Mets side of that one. They are taking a crack at Miles Michaelis, which is a good spot for anybody as an opposing offense. And Freddie Peralta is on the mound for the Mets. We've seen Freddie a little bit up and down, handful of runs in a couple of starts, but he hasn't been bad. 2 runs, 3 runs, a 4-run game. Strikeouts have been mostly intact, so I think we're okay with going to Freddie, but maybe a tick down from some of the other ace caliber starters on the board. Wouldn't shock me if he had a great day. Wouldn't totally shock me if the Nats put 5 or 6 on him either, though. That would be an outburst. Diamondbacks and Brewers, as mentioned just a moment ago, it's Michael Soroka against Brandon Woodruff. Great pitching matchup in that one. 2 guys, we at one point weren't entirely sure what we were ever going to see from Michael Soroka. We weren't entirely sure what Brandon Woodruff was going to come back looking like, and pitching fairly well. The strikeouts are down somewhat for Woodruff. They're up somewhat for Soroka. I think both guys are interesting. Soroka probably ends up being the lower owned of the 2. And then we round out on FanDuel with that Royals and Athletics launching pad game. We're just looking at bats in that one. How about Luis Severino, by the way? I think that might have been his best start at Sutter, including all of last year. Monster performance. That was not something I had in the cards. So Paul Skeens, top of your board, tier on his own, kind of like Scooble was yesterday. You just go to it. It's well worth it. He's going to be popular. He's very, very pricey. Easily the class of the slate on the mound. That's Paul Skeens going up against a young, inexperienced Cardinals team with plenty of strikeout in it. No issues with going to Skeens here. We get Sanchez right there. Webb right there. If you remember yesterday, they were side by side on a tier all by themselves going that way. For today, I would say that it's fair to have Freddie on that same tier, and he lands in between Sanchez. There was a little separation created today between Sanchez and Webb, who were basically the exact same projection yesterday. Chrissy Sanchez pulling a little bit more of it for whatever reason today. Peralta slides in a gettable spot against the Nats with believable projection. I don't think that's crazy to expect a handful of strikeouts. Even on a day where he gives up a couple runs at 89.93, the 89 kind of plays well on FanDuel, even with a couple runs on it. The 85 on Webb, the 82 on Soroka on DraftKings probably play a little bit better than that 93 on Freddie does. But you've got an extended ace caliber tier. I mean, this is not bad. We've got, again, Freddie there, Webb on the other side of the Sanchez spot, Soroka and Woodruff facing off here. You could play the price game between them. Soroka being 10-3 on FanDuel is not exactly comfortable, but again, plenty of strikeouts this year. He's been terrific so far this year. 82, that DraftKings price is not caught up. Looking at that, now that I'm thinking it through, though, on going back to the popularity question, the 8,200 on DK might pull some popularity in his direction. So maybe it is Woodruff that becomes the lower owned of that group just for being a little bit more expensive on the other side of the same game. Going up against the team, I think people basically view the Brewers and the Diamondbacks about the same. Good spot for Wooder, though. He is another ace. Those are top line starters up and down there. Fromber, the performance has just been a tick down this year, but he's also priced way down. Bad matchup against the Braves and all their offensive fireworks, but 8,200, 8,000. I'm at least intrigued by Fromber. There's nothing at all to say that Fromber couldn't go out and equal any one of these guys in terms of start caliber. Maybe a little bit stand on his toes to reach where Paul Skeens might go, but there's no guarantee Skeens is going there, and Fromber could easily catch him if he falters a little bit at those prices. That's made up for any gap in that price difference. Bryce Elder, I'm not a believer at 95, 86. You could play it. He's solidly in the mid-range, but there's a gap between Elder and Fromber. I don't think there's really a gap between Fromber and like these guys. Maybe, again, those two. But Elder is more separated from this group than Fromber is from even Paul Skeens, if that makes sense. Andrew Abbott, as mentioned, not really a fan, hasn't been pitching well, working in that launching pad against the Colorado team that's been frisky, has enough power to just bend his day with one long ball. I don't love it, but he's very cheap. He's obviously a target in the bargain bin. Chris Bassett against the Astros, 64-62. It kind of works, especially on DraftKings. I wouldn't really consider going there on FanDuel. I'm just looking more toward Astros bats. As up and down as they can be, I have a healthy respect for a lot of bats in that lineup, and if nobody's going there, I'm kind of looking to. Lance McCullers on the other side of that one, as mentioned. Lance can find the strikeout stuff from time to time. 76, 7,000, playable part, but erratic, really difficult to trust. Baltimore showing plenty of offensive upside, even though the home runs came down somewhat with the pitching change. Jeffrey Springs and Noah Cameron, a couple of okay lefties, middle of the board types, 86 and 83. I'm not really looking to pay those prices. I'm just more focused on bats on that FanDuel slate at the end of the afternoon. And then Hunter Dobbins, Miles Michaelis, and Michael Lorenzen, I think are more just targets. Maybe if you're desperate, that 65 on Dobbins you could get away with just with the free swinging nature of the Pirates. Maybe feeds them some strikeouts. We just saw that yesterday. Dicey, though. Dicey. I don't love Michaelis against the Mets. Lorenzen against the Reds is kind of hard to see. Andy knows it. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world. What other was it? The Z Morning Zoo on Z100 back in the 1980s. You may remember that. Obviously, the big guy at the top of the pyramid is Howard Stern still, I would say. Howard's still doing it. He's signed for a 3-year extension at the beginning of this year. He's still doing it. It's funny, though. You see it. I catch it. I have a Sirius subscription, so I catch it on Sirius, but I also catch a lot on YouTube when like the cuts of the interviews go up or the full hour interview goes up. And it's funny because it went from, this collection of weirdos and 37 different people, and there's Gary and there's Robin and there's everybody in the studio. And now these days you watch it, it's like Howard, the guest, Robin on some weird video screen. Like it's so different than it used to be. Still good though. It's amazing the change in Howard over the years. Anyway, we didn't come to talk about Howard Stern. We got to get through this one. It's already 10:09, 12:15 start as a reminder. Let me actually pull up the first game. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we get started. Let me hit the lineups button here. Little wrinkle with the lineups, so you got to keep reminding me. For whatever reason, Hao Yu Lee from the Tigers is coming through with an extra space in his name. See this? This was driving me nuts. This happened 2 days ago as well. For some reason, there's just 2 spaces in between his first. Maybe there's a character there that's getting erased or whatever. But he's in the lineup today. We've got it corrected there. Not sure why he's not coming through stats. Oh, because there's an extra space in his name here, too. Interesting. Does he just officially have 2 spaces between the U and the Lee there? Is that just a thing? I didn't realize it was coming through on graphs as well. That's fun. Yeah, the prank calls are some legendary ones from the Stern Show. We used to do a lot of prank calls back in the day. Back when you could do prank calls kind of effectively in the 80s before caller ID, the 90s. Dating myself too much to the 80s. I wasn't doing them when I was like 7, 8 years old. But teenage years, yeah, we had a lot of prank calls. Some classic ones. I wish we had recorded some of them. I used to put it on like the speakerphone in the kitchen, and then I would go downstairs with my parents' cordless phone to actually do the call with my sister and our friends listening on the speakerphone up in the kitchen on mute so that people couldn't hear them, but they could hear everything that went on. Tigers, Fromber, 8,000, 8,200. Definitely in consideration. 16.2% strikeout is down. 8% swinging strike rate is a little bit rough. 3.41 ERA is fine, but a 4.38 xFIP, 4.61 Sierra, a little bit elevated for Fromber. What we always love about him, though, is his ability to check power, his ability to keep the ball in the yard. 1.35% home run so far this year on an 8.3 degree average launch. That launch is actually up a little. Last year, 2.7. The year before, 0.4. 4.2 the year before that. Some years in the negative. launch. So as long as we're not trending up above 10, we're not getting concerned. It's not like he's yielding home runs suddenly. Stuff plus is still all over the arsenal, so we're fine as far as stuff goes. I'm really not concerned about Fromber. I think just some early bumps in the road over 6 starts, 34 and a third. I think he figures it out. My question is, where do we go with the strikeouts, though? 23.3% with an 11.5% swinging strike rate last year. So obviously there's something going on there in early action. 2 years ago, it was 24% with an 11.4. So we just need to find the dynamic nature of his pitches again. I think he figures it out. Everything as far as his somewhat slow start is priced in at 82, 8,000. You just got a challenging opponent in the Braves. There's plenty of right-handed power to face for the lefty, but again, that's not as big an issue for Fromber in terms at least of checking down the home run. What it does potentially equal is hard hit balls through the infield, doubles into the gap, plenty of run scoring opportunities, etc. But you can see the damage he's doing to the home run model. I mean, how frequently do we see the Braves all this far below the magic number? So Fromber's getting his just desserts here. Bryce Elder, 86.95, weirdly priced on FanDuel for a good start, 1.95 ERA, but a near 4 xFIP, near 4 Sierra, 21.2% strikeout against 6.8% walk. That's kind of who Bryce Elder is. He's fine. He's an average, 4-5 starter type guy, but he's not a sub 2 ERA guy. He's not Paul Skeens. He's not Tarek Skubal. Could go through this Tigers lineup effectively, though. He has been good. He's been effective at keeping the ball in the yard himself. 9.8 degree average launch, just a 1.37% home run. Last year, that was 3.53, but on an 8.5 degree average launch, giving up fewer barrels so far, inducing a little bit better weak and medium contact. The exit velocity right at 90 miles an hour is dead on our threshold each of the last couple of years. A couple of years ago, same as far as the barrels, the launch angle, 3.54% home run rate. So I do think we expect him to give up a few more long balls along the way. It's just who he is. The ERA will go up commensurate with that. He'll end the season in this 3.75 to 4.25 kind of a range as far as his actual ERA. Right now, he's over his head. That pushes that up too high. This is a usable price, but there's a lot to work with on the pitching slate, and I don't love tackling the Tigers here. They've got plenty of power. They've got several deadly good lefties in this lineup. We've talked a bunch about some of the quality of the Gleyber Torreses, the Kevin McGonigals, the Colt Keiths of the world. Just a lot to like about the Tigers. 4.11 implied total. I'm more interested in their offense than I am in Bryce Elder at either price, but especially on FanDuel. If we're going with Tigers bats, it's not a bad option today. 48.34 for Kevin McGonigal. He's at 333, 425.18, creating around 64% better than average. As stated yesterday, since arriving in the show, and nothing about yesterday changed it, since arriving in the show, he's been just one of the best players in baseball, and it might not change for the next decade and a half. Joker's excited about Kevin McGonigal. He came in. I've mentioned it in Discord a number of times already, and you've probably heard me say it, but every time McGonigal's name flashes across my eyes, I just hear the Simpsons bit about McGarnagle, the grizzled detective protecting the boy named Billy. It's like a Clint Eastwood type. Too funny. McGarnagle. Gleyber, 39, 3,000. 0 for day yesterday. Left 3 guys on base. Kind of miscast in the 2 role, if we're being honest about things. We just like Gleyber to get on base, create runs, create a lot of correlated scoring potential for DFS purposes. If I'm building this lineup, I've probably got Riley Green hitting second. I've probably got Colt Keith or Kerry Carpenter cleaning up Gleyber hitting third. I think that makes a lot more sense just as a structure for modern baseball. Riley Green should be hitting second in this lineup, but they probably just don't want to double up lefties at the top of the lineup, which I can kind of get, in which case you can throw Torque in that spot. Not that he's great for average. He's got the power to support the 2 spot, though. But they're overloaded with good lefties on this team. Gleyber hits right-handed, 39, 3,000, though. He is still a solid mixer, getting on at a 379 clip, creating runs at a 106, 344 xWOBA under the more average actual WOBA so far. Colt Keith, I talked about a bunch already this season. Barrel needs to find the barrel again, but a 53.6% hard hit rate. Barrels are down slightly, but he's hitting 318, 348, 398, creating runs at a 109, 344 xWOBA that matches Gleyber's number, and excellent upside as far as being able to drive the ball. Green, Torque, and Carpenter all have premium power upside. 2 lefties and a righty. You want at least 2 of those guys in most of your Tiger stacks. I was laughing at it yesterday. I picked Kerry Carpenter in from the Tigers pick, and basically every time this season I've picked Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green has hit a home run. Anytime you see one of those lefties as the pick, the other guy is also a very good option to hit a home run. Those two lefties go kind of hand in hand with one another. Very realistic power. 9-1-2, 9-1-9 in the home run model. Torkelson in the middle at a 7.75. He's got 5 on the season. Was starting to catch fire a little bit. The on base at 348 is very nice to see. His walks are up. His strikeouts are manageable at 28.7. I think we just give him time and just keep connecting with baseballs like he does, and he's going to be just fine. At 3,200, he is cheap on the DraftKings slate. The Tigers were showing solid value on DK. 8th by points, but 3rd by value, and also 4th by home runs in that spot against Elder. So points-wise, maybe in the middle of the board, but nice value, nice upside for power against Bryce Elder for the Detroit Tigers here. Carpenter, as mentioned when I was talking about Green, just fire away with both of those guys. Matt Vierling, Lee, and Jake Rogers going down the lineup, more mix and matchy. Rogers, you're just looking to collide with one with a barrel. Maybe he finds it, but very inconsistent. A lot of zeros out of Rogers, a lot of strikeouts, and off to a pretty poor start. Lee and Vierling just kind of mix and matchy pieces. On the Brave side, I don't love targeting Fromber, even when he's scuffling, even when he's not finding the strikeouts. His ability to keep the ball down is near unrivaled. So I really don't love it. But this is one of the teams that you can definitely do it with. The Braves are just good. And they've got so much good power upside that, like I said, even if they're not homering, the ability to get on base and drive the ball into the gap for doubles is abundant on this team. They've got some guys with speed. I like their chances to at least put a few runs up here. Ronnie Acuna at 52.31. FanDuel holding strong with the stupid low price. DraftKings keeping it at least somewhat realistic. Bad start. Fantastic player, all-world player. Don't sweat the bad start. It's not real. 5,100, 3,800 for Drake Baldwin. His start to the season seems very real. 307, 380, 504, 7 home runs on the board. Similar output to last year's Rookie of the Year season. 13.9% barrel is up, 48.5% hard hit, right around where he was. Strikeouts are slightly up, but walks are as well. I like him to bring the strikeout number down while probably gaining in walk. Wouldn't shock me if he put up a double-digit walk rate on the season to go with everything else, but absolutely tremendous. Great way to fill catcher on any given slate. That said, lefty with Fromber's ability to take the power away probably does knock Drake Baldwin down from being the top catcher of the day. Ozzy Albies at 45.32. He's been fantastic. Another home run, 7 on the season. As mentioned yesterday, I'm still not fully sure that the resurgence is entirely real, but he's looked great, and there's no reason to take it away from him either. This is a player that's former All-Star, very, very good, who's hit a bunch of home runs in the show. It's just nothing about his contact really speaks to home runs. He's got a 307 xWOBA under that 390 actual. There are reasons to at least keep an eye on Ozzy, but we love to see him back and performing, and he remains cheap on both sides at a key position. Matt Olson walked it off last night, 9 home runs on the season. One in April, he's had 306, 381, 636, a 175 WRC plus. The 9 long balls are great to see. Last season, he was kind of caught up in just everybody having a bumpy year for the Braves. Still hit 29 home runs, got on a 366 clip. He was tremendous, 136 WRC plus. He was their best player. But everybody was a little bit up and down and upside down from where their normal results would be. Austin Riley is just a major culprit for that over the last few years. He's slipped below the Mendoza line now, 197, 282, 325. It's just been ugly. I don't know what is broken in Austin Riley, but they got to get that figured out. That said, 4,200, 3,000. If I'm going to Braves, I definitely still want that big right-handed bat, and I'm just looking for the one good bat at ball event. Maybe it's a run-scoring double today. Mauricio Dubon, Kyle Farmer, Jorge Mateo, and Eli White, all pretty mix and matchy. You get a ton of multi-position from these guys, though. Makes things work on your FanDuel slate. And you do have 3 two-position guys on the DraftKings board as well, with Kyle Farmer checking in at the min price on DK, also 2,100 on FanDuel. 10 pretty decent plate appearances so far this year that don't mean anything. Last year, 300 opportunities, only hit 8 home runs, pretty empty slash line, just a 65 WRC plus. If you remember, going back in time a little bit, Kyle Farmer back this year put up 11 home runs as a sneaky option from down lineup that was always at least on the board because he's always cheap. He's never popular. He filled out multiple positions, including some middle infield spots. That was back with the Twins. This year was kind of lost. 2024, 2025 was no good. But every now and again, you can find a little quality out of Kyle Farmer. So maybe a dart you could throw at the dead min price. Third base would be where you'd want him if you were doing that. You're doing it instead of Austin Riley in that case. Saving $2,200 to go from a shot or a struggling Austin Riley. Not in my first few Braves builds, but in one of them, if I'm building like 5, I'd probably do that once. More flexibility with him on the FanDuel slate. Jorge Mateo's just here for speed. Hit for average, get on base, and steal some bases. He does have a little pop in the bat at 12, 15 home run type power in a full season. He's got 1 on the board. Has driven a few balls effectively as well in a limited sample of batted ball events, but that's not really his game if you look back in time. And then Eli White, solid barrel rate in small samples over the last couple of years, doing similar things in his 40 plate appearances, pair of home runs, maybe a pick off cheap power upside, but again, Frommer's not really the guy that typically yields that. Like I said in the runs rundown, maybe we're not just straight flipping it. Maybe we're just taking a 20.25 off of that and putting it over here and just evening them out. I really do think it's Tigers. Do I have that as that on the stacks board? No, I do have the Braves higher. All right, fine. Braves slightly over Tigers. We'll give Vegas credit for building all those big casinos and winning constantly. Braves over the Tigers. Frommer over Bryce Elder. 4 corners a spot. I do think you could get away with either pitcher. I like Frommer quite a bit better at the cheaper pricing, though. That is a discount on Frommer Valdez, even opponent and everything considered. It's another one, Tiz. Yeah, Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter, of course. In the movies, the wonderfully talented Maggie Smith, who I believe is no longer with us. She was amazing. Great actor. Great in that role. Perfect for that role. I preferred the original Dumbledore. Michael Gambon eventually grew on me, but I was the hell's his name? Harris, right? Harris? I think. Not Ed Harris. What the hell is that guy's name? Famous English actor that played the original Dumbledore. Now we're getting sidetracked. Can't believe they're remaking it already. Richard Harris. There we go. He just had that twinkle in his eye a little bit more than Michael Gambon did. Astros, 437 implied total. Really intriguing spot going up against Chris Bassett. I think Vegas is underselling that spot. My hope is that the Astros go a little bit under-owned. The home run pick of the day comes from the Astros. He's staring you in the face. You probably already know who it's going to be. The O's with the 473 implied total, though, definitely on the board going up against McCullers. McCullers, 22% strikeout on the season, but a 12% walk rate. 6.75 ERA is painful. 4.37 xFIP is more who Lance McCullers is. We've all seen, I think, over the years, Lance McCullers, when he's healthy, can break off very good strikeout games and suppress an offense like the Orioles. But the in-between spots are a little bit dicey. Puts too many guys on base. This year, he's allowed too much premium contact as well. A 10% barrel, 48.6% hard hit, 91.6 miles an hour of exit velocity. That's why I said if we were playing with just the recent numbers, then the Orioles home run numbers wouldn't have really come down. But Pete Alonso against Peter Lambert was at like a 14. Against McCullers with the longer track record, he's at a 9.16. So an appreciable dip in home run model numbers, but the Vegas total went up. The overall average projection, I believe, went up from where it was. So little give and take there, and no reason to think that the Orioles couldn't homer off of McCullers. I do think McCullers darts at 7,000 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel is probably a little bit more difficult to reach. DraftKings darts are probably in play, just given the potential for some strikeout. Some weird alarm going off. Hopefully I don't have to evacuate. McCullers, if we're looking at the game log, 5 earned runs over 5 last time out against the Yanks, struck out 3, walked 4, and gave up 2 home runs. That's a disaster of a start. 4 earned runs on 5 hits over 5 against the Cardinals, struck out 4, walked 3, 1 home run allowed again. Painful. 4 strikeout, 2 walk, 1 home run allowed. 6 earned run game over 5 hits in 4 1/3 at Seattle. First game of the season, he struck out 9 of 24 Red Sox that he faced over 7 innings. He was dynamite that outing. Hasn't reclaimed that form yet. That's in there somewhere. McCullers can be very frustrating. But I think the potential can justify some shares at 7,000. There are strikeouts to be found in this Orioles lineup. 22-1 this year, 24-6 for this same collection of hitters last year. Chris Bassett pitching to a 9.3% strikeout rate. That's impressive. 12% walk rate on the season, a 6.75 ERA, 6.26 xFIP. See why I think he's just a target. To his credit, only a 3.7% barrel rate and a 9.5-degree average launch angle allowed. He's never been tragic for home run downside. When he makes mistakes, they can definitely travel, but on the whole, on the average, not a terrible home run pitcher, but just a generally targetable guy who gives up runs, sloppy pitching, not a lot of strikeout, and the Astros are primed to beat that kind of a pitcher. So I really like the looks of this Astros lineup. Carlos Correa in the leadoff spot at 41.32 is nice and affordable. 277, 368, 406. There's nothing at all wrong with that slash line. 9.8% barrel, 41.5% hard hit on the season. Pair of home runs, 364 xWOBA, 118 WRC plus. What's not to like about Carlos Correa? I'm not entirely sure why DK has him so cheap. 32 on FanDuel is a lot more correct. I also love the fact that I can fit him in at third base on FanDuel. Not that I necessarily want to skip Isaac Paredes a couple spots later, but that just makes it a little bit more flexible and leaves that key shortstop position open for me on the FanDuel slate. As always, we'll check what Camden would do for. Yeah, this is a bad park for Isaac Paredes' power. Last year's actual total was 20. His expected in Houston, which is the best ballpark in the league for him, was 22. And his expected for Baltimore was only 10. So definitely not the spot for Isaac Paredes and his ability to just dunk the ball into the left field corner for a home run. But he can be an effective hitter even when he's not homering. He's very cheap at $3,900 on DraftKings, so you can definitely pair him, Carlos Correa, together atop the Astros lineup here, obviously with a big guy in between them, one of the best hitters in baseball. Going down the lineup, a fair price on Christian Walker at 45 on DK, a little bit less fair at 39 on FanDuel. He's off to a very good start, though, looking a lot like the Christian Walker that we know from a few years ago. Barrels are up, strikeouts are down big time, which was the key thing. We've talked about that a few times already this year. He's shaved basically 10 points off the strikeout rate and gotten it back into the teens where it used to sit. Solid walk rate, hitting for power again, 7 home runs on the board, carrying a 364 xWOBA underneath that ridiculous 411 actual mark, 162 WRC plus for the season. Jose Altuve at 5,000, 3,000. Much more fair on FanDuel. I love the ability to plunk him at second base or into the outfield. That flexibility is dynamite. Second base only on DraftKings totally works. That's an easy spot to fill with a player like Altuve. Got off to a good start. Now he's at 248, 344, 394. We're going to have to see where this goes. He's right at league average xWOBA, under a better actual WOBA so far. 3 home runs, but creating runs, 109 WRC plus, drawing walks, doing Jose Altuve things out there. Easily in play when we go to Astros, and still kind of a reason to get there, especially at that FanDuel price. That's dirt cheap. Jainer Diaz, a everyday catcher who is scuffling again this season, hit 20 home runs in a bad year last year. We like him a lot better when he's just driving the ball more effectively. So far this year, the barrel rate's been cut in half. The hard hits have been down by about 10 percentage points. I think he gets it back. He's low strikeout, low walk, so we just get a ton of balls in play from him. Cheap catcher eligibility in the heart of the lineup against a nothing pitcher is also very appealing. Bryce Matthews, Dustin Harris, Christian Vasquez. Vasquez gives you a second catcher, but he's more expensive on DK, hitting 9th, so you don't really want him. 3,100 on FanDuel, same kind of story. 51 pretty good plate appearances, 2 home runs on the board, 311, 385, 33, but give me Jainer Diaz most of the time. Matthews and Harris, just kind of mix and matchy. Both guys sub Mendoza in small samples, 82 and 71 WRC plus, just if you need the price break. And then our guy, home run pick of the day. I took the easy path out. Jordan Alvarez, 11.74 in the home run model. I said yesterday that I wanted to use him yesterday. He should probably be on the list with Judge and Ohtani, where I only use him once a year. Maybe this will be the one time I use him. Just a favorite of mine. 11 home runs on the board. He's been crushing baseballs all season. 18% barrel, 49% hard hit. I like him to get one in his first plate appearance. Going to the Orioles side of things, Gunnar Henderson, he's off to a very good start with the power, 9 home runs on the board. The average and the on-base leave a little bit to be desired at 213, 287, but there's tremendous ability there from the left side to throw at Lance McCullers, 12.2% barrel, 50% hard hit, and he's just a better bat overall than he's been so far this year. 337 weighted on base, but a 326 actual kind of defies what I just said, but I promise those flip later in the season. 113 WRC plus, despite the struggles being on base. Taylor Ward, kind of the opposite. His power's evaporated right now, but he's hitting 313, 426, 455. So you can't really complain about it. 153 WRC plus, and we know there's plenty of right-handed power in there. It's just missed the barrel a little bit. 13.7 is down to 5.4% on the barrel rate so far this year. Not striking out, though. Strikeouts are down by 12 percentage points. Walks are up by a handful. Different hitter so far in Baltimore. Maybe it's just a new Taylor Ward. Wouldn't be what they thought they were acquiring, but it's an interesting enough guy. I think we revert back to typical form and get the big home run bat back and see some of those other numbers slip. But he's at least been interesting, and he's very affordable, 4,400, 3,200. No problem with those prices. Adley at 42 is a very affordable catcher. He's doing some damage to start his season. 3 home runs on the board, slashing 345, 400, 618. Creating runs at an 83% better than average pace by WRC plus in the small sample. That said, 441 actual WOBA with a 315 underneath it is something to watch. 6.4% barrel against a 46.8% hard hit rate on the season. Switch hitter, love the upside for Adley as long as he's in the lineup and hitting up at the top there. Petey Alonso at 47 is dirt cheap. 2,900 is even cheaper. Love that upside. 4 home runs on the season in an otherwise kind of lackluster start. 89 WRC plus. We know that Pete Alonso's better than that. We know he's better than a 198, 299 front end of the slash line. The 360 slug is way down. 8.9% barrel rate is down for him. That's about half where he was last year. 55.7% hard hit rate, though, is still actually up from last year. So plenty to like about Alonso against Lance McCullers. Draw a couple of walks. Hit a home run. Love the potential. 4,000, 2,900 for Semi Basayo, who's got 5 home runs on the board from the left side. Another sneaky catcher potential in this lineup. That is an affordable option on DraftKings. 6.57 in the home run model with upside for more from the left side. 10.5% barrel rate. Semi Basayo is very real. Lito Taveras, Dylan Beavers, Kobe Mayo, and Jeremiah Jackson. Mostly mix and matchy. Taveras is at 286, 392, 429. We've seen him put up successful slash lines over time, but he's more just a utility guy, a click in, just another outfielder type with light power in the 10 home run in a full season kind of range, the ability to swipe maybe 15, 18 bags in that kind of a full sample. In and out of the lineup, just a flex piece, but capable of delivering for the cheap pricing is just another outfielder. Beavers has a little pop from the left side. We haven't really seen it, but he does give you that cheap lefty bat late in the lineup against the righty. Mayo's got the ability to drive the ball. He's got 3 home runs and an otherwise empty slash line on the year. And then Jeremiah Jackson did surge a little bit. 272, 292, 457 is kind of a mixed bag, but 5 home runs on the board. That comes despite just an 8.5% barrel, 35.2% hard hit. I think Jeremiah Jackson is probably in the long run not the hitter that we saw early, but obviously there's been flashes. He fills second base for a fair price on both sides. Just don't love grabbing the 9 hitter if I don't need to. I'm going Astros on top. That's where the Stacks board has it as well. Astros, despite that 7th ranked by Vegas, your number 1 projected team on DK. You're number 2 on FanDuel, and I'm holding strong with that. I didn't do any adjusting to change it. The Orioles not far behind, though, and this is a day where all these teams are tightly packed if you're actually looking at the average. That said, given the pitching change, that was against Peter Lambert. Given the pitching change, the O's, I believe, do climb slightly with this new total from where they were. So plenty of credit for them as well, but I still go Astros-Orioles. Jordan Alvarez home run pick of the day. McCullers darts at 7,000 on DraftKings. If you're desperate on FanDuel, maybe, but he has just been off to start the season, and I don't trust him, and we've got so much to work with on the mound. Bassett's a more difficult proposition. It's really just a bargain bin idea on DraftKings, and even then, he's just been so off to start his season, and I want to get to the Astros that I don't think we do it. Yeah, Trav, I had Lambert in to start the show, and I switched it out at the beginning of the show. Lambert is still all over the place, though. Labs has Lambert. Graphs has Lambert. They'll catch up, but, yeah, it does look like it's officially McCullers. If it switches back, I'll switch it back. 288 implied total for the Cardinals going up against Paul Skeens, top end pitcher of the day. It's Paul Skeens. I don't think I need to sell it that hard outside of the bumpy first start. He's at a 2.48 ERA, a 3.43 xFIP, 3.23 Sierra, 27.3% strikeout rate that'll be going up as the season continues, 6.4% walk that'll be going down. Excellent at limiting power output, 29.6% hard hit rate. Hasn't found the strikeout stuff entirely yet, but he just toys with hitters. He talked about it after his last start. He was out there throwing his, was it the splinker? I think they call it, that he hadn't been using as much. And he just said, like, I just wanted to show guys that I still got it. I can unleash it at any point. He's got so many pitches that are all so super effective. He can do whatever he wants on the mound. He's going up against a young lineup that doesn't have a ton of experience on deck. 24.6% strikeout rate for the guys that were in the league last year, 22.1 for the same collection of hitters so far this year. Some guys we really like on this team, like Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, but that's a 32% and a 27.7% strikeout rate this year. They were in the 30s last year, similar to the year before. Plenty of strikeout downside for those two players, and those are the Cards' two best players. So that becomes a little bit problematic. You do have Alec Burleson, who's appreciably, realistically a low strikeout guy. Ivan Herrera has been overperforming for limiting strikeouts compared to previous seasons, but that might just be a sign of growth. He's gone from 25 to 20.5 to 18.6, so it might just be continued growth for him. I think we consider him around a 1 in 5 type in the grand scheme, though. JJ Weatherholt, this first sample we've got, 18%. So 3 guys to start things off might be a little bit more problematic, but I still like Skeens to punch one of them out in the first inning, and then you've just got a run of more gettable bats. That's a 25.5% average strikeout rate this year the rest of the way. Last year, same collection of hitters, 27.3. Major upside for Skeens. Cards come in sub 3. Hunter Dobbins, first start of the year. Dobbins made 11 starts last year, 61 innings, 17.6% strikeout, 4.13 ERA, 4.11 xFIP. Decidedly average across basically everything except for a below average strikeout rate. Contact numbers were fine. There's no real problems going on here. The hard hits are a little bit more than you'd like to see, but it comes on a light launch angle. 2.34% home run seems pretty realistic from last year, given that profile. Made a few starts in the minors so far this year. 5 outings. Had a 4.37 ERA over those opportunities. Got hit that came mostly in the last 2 starts and the first one. Worked 5 innings 3 times. 5 1/3 is where he topped out against the White Sox affiliate. 19 strikeouts in 22 2/3, so not really sitting down AAA hitters. I think it feeds us a little bit of Pirates upside. 4.24 implied total for them. Some bats we really like on that Pirates team. My hope, as mentioned in the runs board breakdown, is that maybe the 7-run total just pushes people away without thinking about where the bulk of those runs are going, which is toward the Pirates. They actually look all right. Dobbins at 65 on DraftKings. You're probably just looking at a 5-inning stint here. That's perfectly fine for DraftKings, though. You're throwing darts at the upside for strikeouts against this free-swinging Pirates lineup. They do have some Ks, but they've also got a lot of danger. At 72 on FanDuel, probably taking the quality start off the board. I don't love it. There's just too much to work with. Cards bats against Skeens is going to be a pretty hard no. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. Skeens cuts the power out of the equation for the most part. Gorman and Walker about half where they'd be against a human pitcher. If you're starting things out with a Cards lineup, I think 51.36 for JJ Weatherholt is a little bit pricey for the rookie going up against Paul Skeens here. Probably not really all that appealing, but if you're determined to stack cards, he would remain a priority bat, if that makes sense. 6 home runs, 4 stolen bases among the team leaders in offensive output so far this season. Ivan Herrera at 41.32 is a fairly priced catcher on DraftKings, but facing Paul Skeens. Was excellent last year. This year, a little bit of power showing with 4 home runs. Scuffling a little bit in the average department, but getting on at a 4.20 pace is excellent for setting the table for the guys that follow. Burleson, maybe we just limit strikeout, put the ball in play. Skeens not likely to pay off that walk rate, but a couple balls in play, maybe Burleson finds 2 hits and scores a couple of runs if the Cards do get to Paul Skeens. Walker and Gorman, it sucks to leave them on the shelf. You can't if you're building with this team, but they are much more likely to be strikeout victims. All the power in the world for both players. Walker feels a little bit pricey at 52.39 to be facing Paul Skeens. Gorman, though, on the other hand, 32.27, a little bit cheap. Super erratic player, doesn't really hit for any kind of average. You're just looking for one good batted ball event out of Nolan Gorman, and it's an unlikely pitcher to give it to you. Mason Wynn, up and down season so far, 321 at WOBA, but a 306 expected. Is over the waterline at a 103 WRC plus, but an overrated player when it's all said and done. Nathan Church, Pedro Paz, and Victor Scott are all facing Paul Skeens. You really don't want any of those guys. O'Neill Cruz, the top of the Pirates lineup at 6,300, 4,000. This is a guy we maybe can get invested in today. 9 home runs, 10 stolen bases, ridiculous Judgian, Stantonian kind of barrel and hard hit rates. A lot of strikeouts, but we're not really sweating that with Hunter Dobbins. Even if he gets them twice, I like O'Neill's chances in the other plate appearances. 126 WRC plus, an outstanding 367 xWOB under the 360 actual. Brandon Lau, tremendous power hitter at the second base position, probably one of your better second base options on the entire slate. 53.33. That FanDuel price is very appealing. The DraftKings price is not unfair. 7 home runs to start his Pirates career, also getting on at a 336 clip. Strikeouts are down slightly. Walks are well up for Brandon Lau. That's looking like Brandon Lau from 2023 as far as the walk rate so far. Definitely your second most important Pirates bat. Brian Reynolds is your third most important Pirates bat. He's hitting third, 43-31, fairly priced. Slow start, 236, but a 380 on base, 355 slug, 3 home runs on the board, 337 WOBA and a 340 xWOBA, I think is where we can focus. 110 WRC plus. Last year was bumpy. 16 home runs in a down season. Finished the year with a 99 WRC plus, just off league average. 338 xWOBA, slightly above. 315 WOBA was slightly below. But this is a guy who, multiple excellent seasons going back in time. Brian Reynolds is a tick below a star, maybe. He's on the Yankees. He's like the Cody Bellinger version, the Cody Bellinger level talent. Not that, accepting the MVP year from Cody Bellinger. Pretty similar players otherwise. Ryan O'Hearn at 49.32, first base and outfield eligible in the midst of another fantastic 122 plate appearances. No reason to skip over Ryan O'Hearn outside of maybe he's a little pricey at 49 on DraftKings, but a key cog in the machine from the left side for this team. 3,200 is entirely fair on FanDuel. As I said yesterday, love the ability to plunk him into the outfield so that I can reserve another big first baseman from another team, another stack, or so that you can go to Spencer Horwitz a couple spots further down the lineup. Nick Gonzalez in the middle, 324, 361, 373 start to his season. He's been on base all the time. Good piece of correlated scoring. Not a bad midpoint in this lineup ahead of Horwitz and Griffin. If you get to Gonzalez, you probably do want one of those two guys in the spot behind him. Griffin's struggling to start his career, but all the talent in the world. He'll be perfectly fine. Horwitz, just good. 259, 367, 395 slash line. Hit his third home run the other day after we talked about a 116 WRC plus. Do have to be wary at least with the 309 xWOBA under the 346 actual, but it's still under 100 plate appearances, and that wasn't an issue last season. Last year he hit 11 home runs and 411 chances. Had a 320. Oh, all right, it was kind of an issue. 326 xWOBA is slightly above average. 344 actual is well above. So overperformed a little bit in doing that last year, but he's a guy who does hit for average. I think it was just the inflated on base percentage that pushed that up somewhat. He's a guy who does hit for average, puts the ball in play, and can hit the ball sharply. The barrels are actually down so far this year at 1.5%, 8+% each of the last two. Jake Mangum, more a mix and matchy kind of an outfielder. We saw a little bit of outburst from Mangum. The important thing to remember is this is a 30-year-old quad A player, not an up-and-comer. Henry Davis, mix and match quality catcher, but he's very, very cheap at the bottom of a lineup that's entirely playable today. Paul Skeens, Pirates bats. Hunter Dobbins on DraftKings. Cardinals bats are really, really low end. Yeah, underdog's wrong, Larry. Unless it changed again. Per MLB, it's Lance McCullers against Chris Bassett in the 12:35 game. Brandon Young starting for the Orioles with nobody announced in the later game. I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm just riding with what MLB's website is telling us right now. I know that the other guys have it the other way around. That's how I had it when we started the show. If it's Lambert, everything I said about the Orioles remains true, and their home run marks go back up. Technically, the way that the Orioles are still projected on the website, now that I think about it, is still against Lambert. We'll get that corrected in a minute. This game we talked through a lot yesterday in terms of the pitching matchup. Both these guys are excellent. Both these guys are terrific at keeping the ball down. 2.6 degree average launch, 2.4 degree average launch. 28.1% strikeout rate for Chrissy Sanchez. That's the difference maker between the two. Sanchez is going a little bit more right with his strikeout stuff, 14.4% swinging strike rate. Webb, as I talked about yesterday, is just more reverted to 3 years ago, Logan Webb, where still a tremendous pitcher, still a tremendous run limiter, keeps the ball in the yard, but fewer strikeouts. 19.9% looks like the Logan Webb from a couple years ago, not the guy who spiked up to a mid-20 strikeout rate on a 11-something swinging strike rate last year. I think in the long term, he probably claws some of that back, gets into the above-average strikeout rate territory. Even if he doesn't, he remains an excellent option on any given slate. It's just a potentially dangerous lineup in the Phillies. Obviously, they can do their thing. They can sequence. They can get on base. They've got plenty of power. Kyle Schwarber can always homer against anybody, but you can see even Schwarb's 7.34 in the home run model. That is cut way, way down. On the other side, Rafi Devers at 10.2, the only Giants player above the magic number. Rafi is really struggling to start his season. Lefty's also not going to do him any favors against one of the best power limiting lefties in the sport. So I don't love that spot for Devers. I don't love Giants bats. I don't love Phillies bats. If I'm choosing one or the other, though, it's the Philly bats against a somewhat scuffling Logan Webb. But we talked about it a lot yesterday. I'm really not concerned at all about Webb. The underlying numbers, the xFIP, the Sierra, are right around expectation. The 4.86 ERA is just inflated by, bumpy first start against the Yankees, couple odds and ends, but a lot of it not necessarily his fault and not pitching overly poorly. The price is just down at 85 on DraftKings. You take advantage there. 93 entirely playable on FanDuel. Sanchez on either spot is a terrific option. 92 is a little bit cheap on DK, though. If you're going to Giants bats, Elliot Ramos in the leadoff spot at 32.28. Nice source of power against a lefty. Definitely opportunity for the righty to succeed. He's been driving the baseball very effectively. Has not seen results that totally match his premium contact rates so far, but not off to a terrible start. 336 xWOB under that 318 actual shows the underperformance. 101 WRC plus, been slightly above average as a run creator with more to give. Matt Chapman, the power's been out. He's hitting for average. He's getting on base. 105 WRC plus, but a really concerning 281 small sample xWOB under the 323 actual. This is a player we know for power upside. He's been a great source of barrels over the last few years or over his entire career. 3.6% barrel rate. I got to find a minute to take a look at what the swing speed looks like and see if we've just lost a little bit with Matt Chapman. As mentioned yesterday, 33 years old, just turned. Luis Arraez is in the correct spot in the lineup in the third, in the 3-hole, 41.28, fairly priced, 315, 345, 380. Difficult to argue with him and his ability to hit two singles today and be on base for correlated scoring opportunities. Just not a bunch of potential to stack up those runs given that 3.32 implied total and the excellent pitcher on the mound. Lefty, we don't really sweat with Arraez. He's just looking to slap one into the outfield and for a single. Casey Schmidt, mix and match piece, off to a good start. 4 positions on FanDuel's fair, but 3,200 as the most expensive Giants player is entirely unfair. 3,500 at third base is fine if you're going to this team already. 15.2% barrel, 48.5% hard hit, though not entirely realistic. 4 home runs on the board, a 139 WRC plus. I don't think he's this good, but on DraftKings anyway, I would use him if I'm building with the Giants. Not a reason to go to the Giants, though. Their 2 best bats push down the lineup, Rafi Devers, Willy Adames. Adames off to kind of a poor start after getting the first 50 plate appearances. We're looking pretty good, and then he's kind of died on the vine on us again. I'm sure by September he'll look fine. Right now, kind of scuffling. 3 home runs on the board. Devers is also scuffling, but by September, I'm supremely confident that he'll look fine. Jung-Hoo Lee at our Encarnacion and Patty Bailey going down the lineup, mix and match pieces. Lee off to a good start. He's a hit tool focused player, light hitter, but a 301, 345, 456 slash line. Not a bad option. What I would like to see with Lee would be him in the 9 spot so I could bring him back around to Ramos, Chapman in a different day, Devers, Adames up there. But light shares of the Giants, not an overly intriguing spot to use them in a contrarian sense to target a Chrissy Sanchez. Just not that kind of situation. Going the other way, though, the Phils are more on the board to target Logan Webb. I do think they end up the more popular of these two teams, but that won't matter. It'll be light enough popularity anyway. Trey Turner at 44, 3,000, fairly priced. Slow start, but 3 home runs, 3 steals, 95 WRC plus, and a 293 xWOBA. Definitely something to watch. I like him to get his talent back in gear and put the pieces together, kind of like we saw last year. Excellent option on any given slate for counting stats. Hits ahead of one of the best or 2 best run engine and power hitters in the league. 56-37 for Schwarbs, 9 home runs on the board. Some Mendoza, but nobody cares. 16.2% walk, 346 on base percentage. He's been terrific. 367 xWOBA under the 374 actual, and room to climb. Tremendous 3 outcomes hitter. Bryce Harper, a little bit more of a complete hitter. 269, 350, 509, 6 home runs on deck for Harper. He's getting the power stroke in gear. 17.1% strikeout. He's great at putting the ball in play or drawing a walk. Just gets to first base or puts the ball into a gap or over the wall. Love Bryce Harper, and that price is incorrect on DraftKings. 34 is a little bit light on FanDuel as well. Adolis Garcia, 31.27 is very, very cheap. As we've talked about with Adolis, it's been problematic over the last year plus. 9.7% barrel is down over the last couple seasons, and it's trending downward in that direction. 48.6% hard hit, though, is at least up in a small sample over the last couple years. Looks more like the guy from a couple years ago. We need to see him put it back together, but he's gotten extremely cheap. He's going to be out there every single day in the heart of this lineup. So definitely taking my shot with an Adolis if I'm building with Phillies. I just don't look to attack Logan Webb for home runs, and that's what Adolis is really here to do. So not a great fit for today. Brandon Marsh from the left side, 35-3,000, gives you a little bit of on-base ability, a little bit of hit tool, 4 home runs on the board, off to a good start, 114 WRC+, entirely playable if you're going to Phillies, fairly priced. Bryson Stott, cheap at second base. You don't want him at shortstop on FanDuel, but second base kind of works. Slow start, 5 stolen bases. You're just looking for him to get on base, provide some correlated scoring, maybe a bonus with stolen base. Edmundo Sosa, Justin Crawford, Rafael Marchand down the bottom of the lineup, mix and match pieces all. Crawford, very, very talented, off to a slow start. Top prospect for this organization. I think he puts the pieces together as we watch. They're just letting him play and figure it out. Right now, mix and match piece, but a guy I'll reserve for later on for a more interesting spot for Phillies. Sanchez, Webb, Phillies, Giants. MLB changed it back to Lambert now? I should have known better. Should have known better. Let me just change that back. Fortunately, all that means is I just have to upload the other file. I don't have to create a new one. I waited. I put it together. I waited. I circled back to it after projections were done. It was Lambert. I was like, all right, we'll start the show. It's Lambert. Bang. Switches to McCullers. Switch it. A couple minutes later, switches back. Put it here too. At least I never switched the Orioles projections, so those are going to remain correct. I'll show you what it looks like against Lambert in just a moment. Yeah, that Houston didn't matter. Ball. Yeah. So, what did I do wrong? That should just work. I don't know why that's not coming through. Let me think this through for a moment. That's a really simple change. Oh, I know why. Or maybe not. There we go. All right, so the Orioles power numbers come back. Remember when I said Petey was at 14.37? There's your impact. Lambert's overpriced. 8,000 on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel. He's off to a very good start. In 2 starts, 11 innings, 33.3% strikeout, a 3.27 ERA, a 2.64 xFIP. I just don't really think that's who we're dealing with here. A couple seasons back, 61 and a third in 3 starts, some relief work, 17.9% strikeout, 10.4% walk, a 5.72 ERA with a 4.68 xFIP. The year before that, 11 starts, 87 and a third, 18% strikeout, 5.36 ERA, 4.92 xFIP. A lot of the home run juice is coming from that season. It was more limited here, but that was mostly in relief work, where tendencies would be to max effort and be more successful limiting home runs in smaller stints. I think that power does come back and translate here. Again, that's where the upticks are coming from. But interestingly, again, the Orioles come back down. This was like 9.25 on average against McCullers. There's more walk in McCullers' game over time. It was giving the Orioles a few more opportunities, feeding the machine a few more plate appearances. I would consider the Orioles a premium stack in this situation, though, given the power, given the upside for some run scoring here. So definitely interested in O's bats against Peter Lambert. Thank you for giving me the heads up that MLB had switched it back, Trav. When I was saying that MLB had it, by the way, I was reloading that page, looking at it, saying that MLB has it. So they changed that in between then and then. Fun stuff. 4.0 implied total for the Colorado Rockies, who had all the thunder last night. They're going up against Andrew Abbott. Abbott's got a 14.3% strikeout rate over 28 and 2/3 in 6 starts, pitching to a 6.59 ERA and a 4.82 xFIP, 5.09 Sierra. He just hasn't looked good. He's a better pitcher than that, no doubt about it, and he could find it today and put the pieces together against the free-swinging Rockies for sure, come away with some strikeouts. Last season, Abbott made 29 starts, 21.8% strikeout rate, pitched to a 2.87 ERA, but a 4+ xFIP in Sierra. So he was pitching way above his head for most of the season last year. Gave up not too much in terms of the premium contact, was excellent at inducing weak and medium contact, 7.6% barrel rate, just a 2.78% home run, but it was on a major fly ball trajectory. So this is a guy who could accidentally, make a mistake and put a ball into the seats. A guy like Hunter Goodman could be teeing off against him, 10.87 in the home run model after a double dong yesterday. He was the top projected guy, I believe, in second in my home run model. He was the home run pick from the Rockies, and he went out and it was at a 7+% in the Fangraphs game sim number and was leading the slate there. So it's kind of a glaring one yesterday. Love his chances to get another one here against the lefty in this ballpark. There's major upside for offense. They're going with this stacked up right-handed lineup up at the top with Jordan Beck and Brenton Doyle hitting ahead of Hunter Goodman like we saw yesterday. I like those two players. Beck is off to a slow start, as is Brenton Doyle, but there's 20-20 type talent between those two guys. I do think those are quality options. 2,500, 2,400 in the outfield, 3,000, 3,100. They're nice and cheap. Last year, 16 home runs, 19 steals for Beck, 15 and 18 for Doyle. The year before, 23 and 30 for Brenton Doyle over 603 plate appearances in a complete season. So again, 20-20 type talents. They just struggle with strikeouts. They feed you a lot of zeros in your lineup. They weren't great yesterday. I think Beck was like a 6-point day, Doyle a little bit more productive, but plenty of opportunity for correlated scoring if Hunter Goodman happens to go deep, and guys who can create their own fantasy points. Tyler Freeman in the cleanup role, a little bit miscast there, but just looking to reset the table for the Willie Castros, the TJ Rumfelds, and so on of the world. There are quality bats going down this Rockies lineup, though. Freeman's off to a decent start with the stick, getting on at a 345 clip, just a 73 WRC plus, not really reflective of being on base all that frequently. But should be, if he's getting on at 345, should be creating some more runs. Hasn't exactly stung the ball when he's hit it, though, so far this season. Limiting strikeouts, limiting walks, putting a lot of balls in play. Willie Castro, nice flex piece. Second base is probably where you want him on DK at 42. Multi-position at 27 on FanDuel. Pulling things together, 260, 333, 370 after a slow start. Not a major source of home run power, but can hit them. Not a major source of stolen bases, but can steal them. Better than a mix and match type player, switch hitter in the heart of this lineup. TJ Rumfield has power from the left side, 3 home runs on 123 plate appearances. That said, just a 155 ISO, 97 WRC plus, an appealing 344 XWOB under the 335 actual, though. That's a reasonably good option at 3,100, 2,800 first base on both sides. Kyle Karros, 26-25 is cheap. Sub Mendoza, poor start for him, but there's talent there. It's reflected a little bit in the 348 XWOB under the atrocious 281 actual. Again, 320 league average. So he's above average XWOBA by a pretty clear margin. Similar margin going the other way, below average actual performance. Troy Johnston, similar to TJ Rumfield in that he can turn on one from the cheap first base or outfield eligibility. 35-28, pair of home runs at 315, 376, 457 slash line. Given how frequently he's been on base to start the season, how much he's been limiting strikeout, not a terrible option to wrap back around to the top of the lineup if you're building. Reds, Sal Stewart, 5,200, 4,100, 7.70 in the home run model, trailing only Elly De La Cruz in the 3 spot at 8.86. I continue to think that one of those two guys should be hitting second instead of Matty McLain. McLain, 2 home runs, 5 stolen bases, maybe starting to pull things together a little bit. Up to 218, 338, 327. Still a very ugly slash line and a slow start, but a 331 xWOBA suggests that we'll continue to see him climb the board and normalize those numbers. Should be above average for WRC plus. Should find some home runs, some steals along the way. Just not ideal in the 2 spot, but very cheap for our purposes at 31 at second base. I want him at second, not short, because I want Elly at short and I want to keep Util open on FanDuel, but that totally works. Second base is more than a reasonable spot to put him. TJ Friedl at 35-26, better than he's been over 118 plate appearances, was an on-base machine last year. 261, 364, 378. That's ideal for the leadoff spot. Can hit you the odd home run, can steal you a base. Correlated scoring is really what he's here for. That definitely works as just a guy to click into place alongside Elly, Sal Stewart, and Matty McLain. Down lineup, you get some options. Nathaniel Lowe's awfully cheap at first base. He's a blocker to Sal Stewart on DraftKings, though. That kind of sucks. 2,700 for him on FanDuel is fair. 5.27 in the home run model. He's got 4 on the season. Talked about him a little bit yesterday in terms of a guy that over time we thought was going to hit for average on base. 15 home run type, and he's done that over time. We've also seen him hit more home runs than that, but typically the average, the on base fall a little bit. Right now in 55 plate appearances, he's putting all of that together. Odds are that doesn't, there's give in one of those because he's not striking out. He's drawing a lot of walks. Typically when he's swinging for power, he strikes out more, brings everything else down. We'll see where it goes, but that's an interesting hitter for the money from the left side against a nothing righty. I skipped over talking about Michael Lorenzen mostly because he's just awful. 13% strikeout. He just feeds contact to hitters. 5.97 ERA is realistic. 4.25 xFIP, 4.28 Sierra. I like those to go up even if the ERA comes down. Tyler Stevenson, a good catcher, 2,900, 2,500, especially against a bad lefty from the right side. You get a lot of thunder from Stevenson. 13% barrel this year, 14.4 last year, 9.1 the year before that. Plenty of sneaky home run upside from a cheap catcher. That's exactly what you want to be rostering on DraftKings. I would not cross Tyler Stevenson off a list of one-off DraftKings catchers, even if you're not using the full stack from Cincy. Stevenson's really appealing at that price. 25 on FanDuel puts him in play as their first baseman, but I'd rather have Nathaniel Lowe here. 2 home runs on the board for him in an otherwise slow start to the season. Hit 13 in 342 chances last year, 19 in 515 in a full season 2 years ago. JJ Bleday has power from the left side as well against a bad righty. 25% barrel so far this season. That's way up, obviously, in a small sample in 6 plate appearances. 1 home run on the board. He's down to 400, 500, 1,000. Remember, he was 1,000 across the board yesterday. A couple more plate appearances will do that to you. But a guy who's capable of driving the ball from the left side. 14 home runs in 344 chances last year, 20 in 642 2 years ago. Spencer Steer drives the ball as well. Righty bat, 5.51 in your home run model. He's nice and cheap. You can flex him around the board on FanDuel, including to second base, which is great. Him and Will Benson hiding down lineup are kind of intriguing. Benson's got a ton of power from the left side. I would have been tempted to make Will Benson the home run pick of the day, even at 5.52, even hitting 9th. I just love that bat when he's in the lineup. 15.4% barrel, 53.8% hard hit in a small sample that kind of went nowhere last year. But we've seen Will Benson's outbursts for power. Hit a dozen home runs in 253 plate appearances, had 14 in 388 a couple years ago, 11 in 329 a year before that. That's a player who can drive the ball against Michael Lorenzen, who's going to have just the ball just floating in, meatball after meatball coming in toward home plate. Will Benson's eyes are going to light up. He's going to swing and miss. He's going to swing and miss again. Maybe, though, if he makes contact, he puts one into the seats. I don't dislike Will Benson as a wild card for very cheap down lineup. Reds bats, Rockies bats, Andrew Abbott wouldn't play Michael Lorenzen. Abbott is just barely playable, and it's mostly about the Rockies' strikeout rate rather than anything he's done on the mound this year. Not a fan. I expect the Rockies get to him. Nats and Mets, we'll see if we got these lineups in. We're making okay time. It's 11:06. I got to investigate this thing with Lee's name. I'm really curious what's creating that gap. Both these lineups came in. So Freddie Peralta, the pitcher to talk about here, 25.9% strikeout for Freddie on a 13.2% swinging. He's a pitcher who can be a little bit erratic and lose hitters to walk. Last year, 9.2% walk against the 28.2. He's right in line with that, even with the strikeouts slightly down. The swinging strikes are slightly up. I think he finds more Ks along the way, but 27-28 is about the expectation for Freddie. He's a little tiny bit less than maybe some of the other premium starters, but he's excellent. 3.90 ERA, 3.72 xFIP, plenty of opportunity to strike out some Nats. That said, they don't push a lot of strikeout in your direction, so he's going to have to work for him. It's probably a lighter day in the long run in the 5-6 strikeout range for Freddie when it's all said and done. We know that he can get himself in trouble with the walk. We know that the Nats have some power on board, especially with James Wood, 10.88 in the home run model, 29.6% barrel, 10 homers on the season. He's tremendous. Guys like CJ Abrams are dangerous. Dalen Lyle can be dangerous. They're stacked up with lefties to go meet Freddie's right hand here at the top of the Nationals lineup. He'll face the first 8 hitters in this lineup, all batting left-handed. Not going to sweat that, though. Freddie's more than good enough to get through that. But a tick down from the Paul Skeneses of the world, from the Sanchez's of the world. I believe he was projected slightly above Logan Webb, though. Solid third option on the board here. And a gettable Nats team that absolutely exploded again last night. 3.38 implied total says a lot of that for me, though. The Mets at a 4.75 against Miles Michaelis, who is just bad. 14% strikeout rate on the season, and 8.49 ERA with a 5.01 xFIP. The xFIP, the Sierra are the more real numbers, but they still hover around 5. That's who Miles Michaelis is. He's also yielding an 11.8% barrel, 6.31% home runs so far. That's not entirely real, but last year it was 4.33 on a 12.7% barrel. The year before, 8.1% barrel with a 3.61% home run rate allowed. Pitched to a 5.35 ERA, but a 4.08 xFIP that year. Notable lack of strikeout in each of these seasons. The one thing I'll give to his credit, that whip is a little bit high. The walk rate is inflated right now at 9%. Typically he's in this 4 to 5 range. So a few too many walks, but that could be in play against a Mets team that can definitely go draw a walk. Juan Soto is one of the best in the world at drawing walks. MJ Melendez is drawing walks right now. Did draw walks a couple years ago. Kind of mixed in between. Not entirely sure who MJ is. A lot of single-digit walk rates from some of these other players so far this year, but we know there are guys in this lineup that can find their walks. 9.4% last year for Marcus Semien, 8.9 the year before that. Brett Beatty, 9.4 2 years ago. Down to 7.6 last year was a little bit part of his up and down nature. But it's a more than capable Mets team. Bo Bichette in the leadoff spot is a great piece at 4,000 at third base, 27 at third base on FanDuel. I continue to not necessarily want Bo at short in my lineup. I would put him there if I didn't have a click together with another premium shortstop, but I'd much rather fill third base. And that's true just any time I'm going to get that multi-position. I would just pivot that guy to third and use a different high-end shortstop. It's just such a key position. Nats bats against Peralta. Most Nats stacks need to have James Wood. It's going to be a very common build with James Wood, but that is the correct way to start off. He is by far their best player, ton of walk. He does have a lot of strikeout in his game. Freddie could sit him down a couple of times, but one good bat at ball event, and that ball is going to travel. Luis Garcia, 2,900, 2,800. Pretty cheap for a guy that we know can hit. 242, 270, 347 is uncharacteristic. He's a better bat than that. Had a good year last year, 16 homers, 14 steals, 252, 289, 412 12. The on base was a problem, drove down his actual WOBA. 339 expected underneath that. The year before, 282, 318, 444, 18 homers, 22 steals. That was his best season. 111 WRC plus that year. Right now, he's looking more like last year's guy and even worse. But I do like his chances in the long term to get at least to somewhere between last year's numbers and the year before's numbers. Dalen Lyle at 43-31. 3 home runs, 266, 331, 395. Not a bad start to his year. Nice 340 xWOB onto the surface. Not a major source of premium contact, but low strikeout, medium walk rate. A lot of good, well-struck balls in play. CJ Abrams at 55-36, their second best option. 7 home runs, 5 steals, a 394 on base to get things started for CJ. That's a prime way to fill shortstop. No issues playing him as a lead shortstop. The prices for facing Freddie, I don't love. I wish I was getting a little bit of a discount there. But again, Freddie a little tick down from some of the other aces, more gettable. And the Mets being the Mets, you can throw that into the mix too. No way to quantify that. The bottom of the lineup leaves a lot to be desired. This is one of the problems with stacking Nats. It's also one of the problems with how the Nats come through the stacks board and everything. They're just not going to average out to good numbers when the bottom 5 hitters are Jose Tena, Jorby Vivas, Nasim Nunez, Drew Millis, and Jacob Young. It just gets ugly. Any one of those guys can give you some success. Right now, Vivas at 288, 386, 339 has been your best performer, 113 WRC plus with everybody well below average, but he's not that guy. Nasim Nunez is not getting on base frequently enough to support the stolen base upside, 314 on base. He does have 13 steals, one of your league leaders in stolen bases, and he is drawing a 13.1% walk rate. That's like the only thing he's doing. He does not hit the baseball very well. Tena, mix and match. Millis, okay at 2,200 as a cheap catcher, but not much there. Jacob Young, mix and match, just less than just another outfielder. I do not love the bottom here. So your builds with Nationals are going to be crazy common among those 4 players and one other guy. So even if you're getting contrarian going to Nats at a bad total against a really good pitcher, it gets problematic after the obvious dudes. Brady House obviously was a nice wild card to have in there yesterday. On the Mets side, as mentioned, Bo at third base. Love the option on FanDuel and on DraftKings at 4,000. It's a great price to find a guy who is just a 280, 300 type hitter. He's going to find his hits. He's going to find a little bit more power than we've seen so far. 322 xWOBA is at least a tick above league average. 268 actual is indicative of the struggles so far this season. He is in no way going to finish around that number. Juan Soto at 58-33. 3rd home run of the year in 64 plate appearances, slashing 327, 422, 545. Looks a lot like Juan Soto right now. Love that option against any pitcher, but against Miles Michaelis, could be a tremendous day to be Juan Soto. 14.47 in your home run model. MJ, talked about the power upside, 2,800, 2,700. He's got 1 home run in 30 plate appearances. This is a guy who's always driven the ball effectively from the left side. Double-digit barrel and near 50% hard hit rate a couple years ago. Mixed samples in and out of the lineup with KC over the last couple years, but those are solid. The barrel rate would be higher, I think, in a full sample, 45.9, 45% hard hit rates. That's a guy who drives the ball. He's also a guy who strikes out at a tremendous clip, 35.4% last year, 40% in his 30 plate appearances so far this year. But against Miles Michaelis, it's less of a concern. Soft tosser is just going to let him make contact. I like MJ's chances to drive one over the fence or at least into the gap. Mark Vientos, same story from the right side, 3,000, 2,600, nice and affordable. First base kind of works. Third base is where I prefer him on FanDuel. 2 home runs in 79 plate appearances. Little lackluster start to the year, but we know he's been a great source. Double-digit barrels each of the last 3 years. Great source of power potential. I like going to that spot, hitting clean up behind that group of hitters. Brett Beatty can drive the ball as well. 12.8% barrel, 46.7% hard hit. Failed us the other day as the home run pick of the day. I would go right back there. He's got 4 positions on FanDuel for only 2,600. That just makes this Mets stack home. Look how cheap these Mets are on FanDuel. Definitely interested. 1 home run in 96 plate appearances. He's better than that. He hit 18 in 432 chances last year. Marcus Semien, at best, a mix and match piece right now. I think Semien's kind of just shot, gang. I was hoping for the best coming into this situation in New York, but 117 plate appearances that look a lot like the guy who was pretty much shot last year. Carson Benji has never gotten the career going, 186, 247, 279 in his first 93 plate appearances. Got to give him a little bit of leeway to figure it out, but it's been a struggle so far. Luis Torrens, Ronnie Mauricio. Torrens is a mix and match catcher. Ronnie Mauricio's got a lot of talent. Drives the ball effectively. multiple seasons in the minors with approaching 20 home runs, tons of stolen bases. He is that player. He's got 60 grade power in traditional scouting. A lot of strikeouts in the show so far. Has not delivered the results they would hope for in the show, but inconsistent opportunities in the show because he's just blocked positionally unless somebody like Frankie Lindor right now is hurt. Then he gets his crack. 2,200, 2,100, second base eligible on FanDuel, third base eligible on DraftKings. I love the option. I picked him for the Mets from the Mets home run pick of the day, 5.61. The actual overall is Jordan Alvarez. Ronnie Mauricio, though, from the Mets, 5.61, rivals some of the higher up in the lineup guys. Could be very, very sneaky going up against a nothing pitcher here. So I like the kid. I like the talent. I think he figures it out in the long term, too. I think he's going to be a decent player still. Freddie, Mets, Nats, Michaelis. Even at 55, it would be a real tough spot. I'd have to short-term Neri? Not sure. Not sure what that handle is, but welcome. Appreciate the question. Does Skeens cross 6.5 strikeouts today? I like the upside. Against these cards, there's plenty of strikeout there. As I highlighted, these three guys effectively limiting strikeout seems like it's real for JJ Weatherholt, but everybody, the entire bottom 2/3 of this lineup, strikes out a lot. 25.5% for that collection of hitters so far this year. Same group of guys in mixed sample sizes last year, 27.3. Going down the board for the guys that were in the league in mixed samples, 27.3 again back in 2024. So there are a lot of strikeout from 4 down. I like Skeens' upside to find it today. Yeah, 6.5. I don't want to pull the model up for strikeout. I don't want to get into that whole bag. And I don't want to accidentally reveal it on the show. I like him to get over it. Seven strikeout day for Paul Skeens at least. I'm calling the actual number, not what it won't be where he's projected in the model, but I'm going to give Paul Skeens a 9 strikeout day today. I think that's what he comes away with. It's a great spot. So 6.5, I like that line a lot. D-backs and Brewers. And again, we're obviously not betting it like it's like I'm saying he's going to strike out 9. That's just for fun. But that's where I like Paul Skeens to, prediction, not projection, to come in. Brewers bats are in. They're going up against Michael Soroka, who's been tremendous to start his year. FanDuel overreacting. 10-3 on the FanDuel price board. 8,200 on the DraftKings price board. You can see where he slots in, though. That's Mikey Soroka up there with the aces. This is a deep slate for high-quality pitching, and he is one of those guys. His talent level, before injuries and everything derailed his opportunity to start his career, was rivaled any of those guys, with the exception of Paul Skeens. Soroka is this guy. I don't know that he fully maintains a 2.60 ERA, 2.95 xFIP, 2.97 Sierra. We probably see him end the season in the 3.5 kind of range for runs. But the strikeouts, I wouldn't be shocked to see strikeouts hover in the 28 to 30% range. Right now, 29.6 on a 10.5% swinging strike rate. Excellent against the walks, 23.48 strikeout minus walk. He's been okay as far as the contact goes. Technically, we're over the line there, and over the line there. But he's been managing it effectively, 1.74% home run. I would call him a little bit lucky to limit the home runs to that level, though, so far, which is part of the reason I think the ERA over time does start to tick up on us somewhat. In the 5 outings he's made, though, last time out, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 earned run on 7 hits against the White Sox. 5 strikeout day, but no walks, 2 earned runs on over 7 innings against the Blue Jays, and that's a tough team to strike out. Very good limiting their runs, and we love to see the 7 innings of depth in that one. They let him fly. 5 2/3 the one before that, 5 innings apiece in his first 2 starts. 2 10 strikeout games on deck already. A 3 strikeout game against the Braves is kind of a little just, flashing alarm light there. just saying like, hey, if you're not striking out the Braves all that much, maybe we reconsider what the actual strikeout upside looks like. But I like him to continue. It's very real. We saw him have a somewhat successful year last year. Made 17 starts, 89 innings, had a 25.2% strikeout rate, 4.55 ERA, but a 4.20 xFIP, 3.77 SIERA. Again, I do expect he comes in at the end of the year around a 3.5 ERA. But definitely a guy we can go to, especially at that price. I expect this price against this team renders him pretty unpopular on FanDuel, but this price probably does make him more popular than this guy on your DraftKings slate. But they're going to come in pretty even up. Brendan Woodruff is tremendous, 9,000, 9,200. Strikeouts are down right now, but I like him to find it. 3.77 ERA, but a 4.51 xFIP has been technically overperforming. But last year, putting it back together, 32.3% strikeout rate, coming off of some injuries, coming off of other injuries going into this year. 12 starts last year, was tremendous in those outings, looking like the Brandon Woodruff of old. Missed the entire 2024 season. Made 11 starts back in 2023. It's just been a minute since he's had a full season. But the talent is still there. The talent is still real. 10.7% swinging strike rate suggests that we can go back up with that strikeout rate in the long term. Just not a ton of strikeout to go chase in this Diamondbacks lineup. Corbin Carroll at 28.3, but typically he's a lot lower than that. 23.8 last year, 19s the 2 years prior to that. Adrian Del Castillo's the one realistic strikeout target in the top 7-8 hitters in this lineup. Everybody else is and has been over time very low strikeout. So it's not a great target for Wooder, especially when his personal strikeout rate is down pretty far. I think that's a piece of why he's underprojected compared to Soroka. He was the last man in that group of aces, but he still does belong on this list. Actually, technically, Fromber's the last man in at a cheaper price. It's just a bumpy price to get to Woodruff. So again, I do think that probably renders Woodruff lower owned over here. But the 10-3 probably makes Soroka the lowest owned out of that group on the FanDuel slate. I do think you could play either of these lineups against these pitchers. 3.65 implied total for the D-backs reflects Woodruff's quality. Same thing with the 3.96 implied total. But these teams are good enough with sequencing, good enough with creating runs, limiting strikeouts. Even if they're not hitting homers and nobody on either team is above the magic number for home run upside. Little bit more power potential showing for the Diamondback side. They've got more home run hitters than the Brewers bring to the plate. Torn between which one I actually would prefer. I think I probably would lean slightly. Where does the stacks board have them? They're both down. Yeah, Brewers are way down the board today. Diamondbacks not far behind. Again, they're playable, but this is more a pitching matchup. I'll go with the way the stacks board had it there, though. If you're going to the Diamondbacks, Perdomo in the top spot, very cheap on FanDuel, very cheap on both sides. 4,000 on DK, 3,000 on FanDuel. Unique opportunity to get to a very good player. It's just a slow start, over 107 plate appearances and some missed games, but the strikeout rate is low. The walk rate is very high. He's doing all the Perdomo things out there. Just needs to find some good fortune. 362 on base is keeping him afloat right now. 111 WRC plus. He will get back to hitting the home runs. I think he probably finishes under 20 this year, but still an excellent option. And if he's just used as a leadoff man, his skills over time at getting on base have been the truest thing about him. So no worries about him as just a correlated scoring piece at those prices. 52 for Ketel Marte is fair. 3,000 he's cheap on FanDuel. 8.41 in the home run model. He's got 5 on the season. 373 actual, but to alleviate any concerns about the 309 actual, remains a tremendous option and one of the best ways to fill second base on basically any given slate. Corbin Carroll's a star in the outfield, 3,800, a little underpriced on FanDuel. 59 is not incorrect on DraftKings. Del Castillo can put good wood on the ball from time to time. Fair enough price on DraftKings. I don't love him on FanDuel because you just don't need him over there. 222, 263, 389 start to his year, a 78 WRC plus. Hit 4 homers in 131 chances last year and drove the ball effectively in some of those. Was tremendous in 87 plate appearances back in 24. 313, 368, 525 slash line, a 146 WRC plus. 4 homers and a 213 ISO. It's where some of the quality in the model comes from, but getting regular chances in that top end of the lineup just because he's one of the better options. This is another team that kind of falls off, though. Ildomaro Vargas has been dramatically overperforming the talent. We know that he is not a 372, 393, 690 player. He's not even close. 6 home runs in 91 plate appearances is the best he's ever done. That's the best 91 plate appearances he'll ever have. You've seen him. Don't pay a tax for them. 4,300, 4,100 is silly. Lourdes Gurriel at 3 is cheap. 27 is cheap, but he's off to a slow start after a down season. I do still believe in the talent, the ability to hit line drives, hit for average, find some success via BABIP with the occasional home run. He's playable, but more just another outfielder. Alec Thomas, James McCann, mix and matchy pieces. And then Nolan Arenado, got to give him credit, hit another home run last night. 284, 324, 463, start to his season. 345 WOBA, a 315 X. The X is even climbing a little bit. I'm not giving him back his talent, though. I just don't think it's there. I think it craters. This is just a little blip. That swing is just, it's broken. It's not a good swing anymore. Maybe he's found a way to make it work. I'm very skeptical. 33.29, at least the price hasn't gone up. I'm shocked he's not a $4,000 player suddenly on FanDuel. On the Brewers side with the confirmed lineup, Garrett Mitchell's interesting in the leadoff spot. He's been crushing baseballs when he makes contact and seeing no return for it. Technically, he has driven in 20 runs. I don't pay that much attention to RBIs. He's getting on base like crazy with a near 20% walk rate. He also strikes out nearly 40% of the time so far, and the strikeout rate is real over the last couple seasons. The walks are real, but he's not doubling his walk rate over time. 346 weighted on base against the 343 X. He's basically right where he ought to be in terms of that. 119 WRC plus, but I just want to see some of this premium contact translate to some extra base hits, some power upside. A 135 ISO does not match that contact. So if he keeps doing this, and nothing here really gives us reason to think that he will, but if he at least shows some uptick there, even if it comes down to a 10-12% barrel, a high 40s hard hit rate, he should show improvement just based on the contact he's making and some good fortune. Bryce Turang's been tremendous to start the year. 4 home runs, 7 steals, 154 WRC plus, and continuing to find the barrel. He's up over 12. Remember yesterday he was in the 11s, and I said maybe he'll get over 12. He's over 12. It's insane. Just a different hitter than he used to be. It's been great. William Contreras at 43.29, playable catcher spot, 262, 336, 374. Part of the equation for this Brewers run creation engine, just getting on base with a player like that. 101 WRC plus, hasn't been great for counting stats so far this season, but has the ability still to drive the ball. At worst, he's a good correlated scoring catcher. Jake Bauers is fair at 44.32. Like him better with the outfield eligibility on FanDuel. Just put some flex in my lineup. I can get another big first baseman. Not that I'm reserving those shares for Tyler Black by any means. He's also got multi-position if I wanted him. But I'm thinking of Pete Alonso, somebody like that at first base, right? Bauers hits home runs, steals bases. He's got 5 and 3 of those in a good start to his year. 341 xWOB under a 335 actual. Definitely ability over time to drive the baseball is very much in place. Solid lefty to throw at Michael Soroka, who again, despite the lack of home runs so far, is actually giving up that kind of contact. So if somebody could bend Michael Soroka's day, Jake Bauers is firmly on that list, and I would put Garrett Mitchell on that list as well, given the way he struck the baseball so far. Soroka could have problems with those 2 lefties early on. Black is mix and matchy. Luis Rengifo, Sal Frelick, Greg Jones, David Hamilton. Frelick's the guy you want down there. Had a decent day the other day. 212, 317, 306 start to his season, but he's a lot better than that with the stick. We should see him hit for average over time, get on base, steal his bases, create his runs. I think Sal Frelick will be fine. 12.5% walk and strikeout rate so far this year is reflective of who he actually is. So what did I say? Diamondbacks over the Brewers, but Soroka over Woodruff. So Soroka, Woodruff, Diamondbacks, Brewers. Or and Soroka over. I said but it was and. And then this game, you're free to go, DraftKings folks. You don't get this game, unfortunately. Unfortunately for you, this game's not on your slate. It's disappointed us each of the first couple of... Whoops. What did I do? I hit that button again. Oh, while I'm here. If the person who asked that question about Skeens is still here, my projection is 6.78 strikeouts. So over the 6.5, just barely. I like him for 9. Again, just kind of playing around when I say 9. That's a prediction. That's a just Karnak. That's why I did this when I did that. That's a prediction, not a projection. The projection was over 6.5, but just barely. Royals and A's. This game offset by hour and change beyond the other last game. It's all about the ballpark here. Pitching matchup, a couple of decent enough lefties. Cameron off to a bumpy start, 5.13 ERA, but a 4.37 xFIP, 4.41 SIERA. He's given up a lot of premium contact that just is not going to play in this ballpark, though. So I like the A's upside for home run power. You got 3 guys above the magic number, another couple guys hitting the ball hard and hovering around it. Definitely an appealing lineup with a 5.30 implied total on your FanDuel slate. You should get an abundance of A's, and they are cheap on the FanDuel board as well. You can see the Athletics ranked 3rd by projection on FanDuel, but 1st by value, 5th by home runs, 1st by Vegas total. Right behind them was the Reds in the Vegas total, and then the Royals actually rank up at the top of the board for FanDuel projection, 2nd by value, 3rd by home run, 3rd by Vegas total. So tons and tons of upside for them as well. We know we've got righty pop in this lineup. We've got a scuffling Vinny Pasquantino to deal with, but plenty of right-handed power in the Royals lineup. 4.83 implied total for them. So much as Jeffrey Springs and Noah Cameron are capable of decent games and capable of shutting either one of these teams down, right now, Springs is off to the better start between the two. I just don't feel like they're necessary at 8,300, 8,600 pitching in this ballpark. Neither guy projects above 23 points. I don't think we go pitching. I think we just lean into the bats and try and pull it off one last time here. You got it, Rabbit Hole. Appreciate you. Coming up on, it's 11:30. We'll talk our way through this last one, and then I got its site updated and everything fully up to speed. God knows they'll probably switch Lance McCullers back into the first game. Royals bats, Michael Garcia, one of our favorites around here, 2,900. He's awfully cheap with multi-position. I love the ability to move that player with all his talent around the board. Getting on at a 331 clip. Hasn't stolen too many bases for that on-base percentage yet. Hasn't hit too many home runs, but a very effective bat. Drawing some walks, limits strikeouts, puts the ball in play, and hits them pretty hard when he does. Love Michael Garcia. Hitting ahead of Bobby Witt. Witt's got 2 homers, 10 steals on the board, and 134 chances. 384 xWOBA under a 352 actual, 119 WRC plus. Tremendous option at short. That is who I have in mind a lot of the time when I'm saying I want to reserve a spot for one of the better shortstops. It was Bobby Witt hitting in this ballpark. I've had so much Bobby Witt in these past 2 days. Pasquantino, again, just scuffling right now. We saw this last year. I think he figures it out. He's too smart of a hitter to not figure it out. I think just probably some tinkering going on amidst an also slow start with a little bit of misfortune. I do think Vinny Pasquantino figures it out. We've seen way too much from Vinny over the past few seasons, and we saw a bunch of growth that we were looking for from Vinny last year in terms of the power output. So I'm going back to the well, 2,800. He's not a hitter that I would worry about lefty against this particular lefty, so I wouldn't ding him too hard for that, but maybe that on top of the slow start, on top of the, to quote, tin cup swing that looks like an unfolded lawn chair right now. It's a little ugly, but he would be in the mix for me, and maybe some of that renders him unpopular despite the cheap price. But I can go around him with a Sal Perez. Sal's not off to a great start, but he does have 5 home runs on the board, 10.27 in the home run model. He was the most likely guy on the Royals for per Fangraphs game sims to hit a home run. I believe he was my choice from the Royals as well at that number. I love Sal's power upside against this pitcher in this ballpark. Lane Thomas, slow start to his season. He's a player who was good a couple years ago. Has been kind of lost since. Right now, 246, 386, 316. The on base is keeping him afloat, 107 WRC plus. Last year, just 142 plate appearances that were pretty lost. 15 home runs, 32 stolen bases, and 528 chances the year before with a 99 WRC plus. And then 28-20, 101 runs scored in 682 chances, a 109 WRC plus, a 201 ISO. He was tremendous back in 2023. He's just been somewhat absent, scuffling when he's been here a little bit. But there's a player in there against a middle-of-the-road kind of a lefty in this ballpark. There's a lot of upside for Lane Thomas if he happens to be in that spot for 2,600 in the middle of the lineup. 6.98 in the home run model. Starling Marte, a little bit of ability to hit the ball, mostly probably here to hit for average this year, steal some bases. So far, not doing that. 241, 258, 345, no stolen bases, a 59 WRC plus, just a righty bat to throw into the mix for a fair price in the outfield. Carter Jensen, monster lefty bat, 6 home runs on the board in 99 plate appearances, tons of power upside. You'll see him trend upward as we catch on with some of April's numbers in the next couple of weeks. Nick Lofton, Isaac Collins, mix and match pieces down lineup. On the A side, if this is the version of the lineup that they roll out, probably should have done that before I talked about the Royals. Jacob Wilson, excellent hit tool to top off the lineup. Good at getting on base, even though he hasn't really shown that so far this year. 285, 294, 390 slash line. That average is ticking up slightly, though. He's just looking to put the ball in play, get on base ahead of the big bats. Langoliers love the upside for a home run against a, again, power-prone lefty. I think is fair to say about Noah Cameron in this ballpark. Should feed right-handed power. 10.63 for Langoliers, 10.77 for Brent Rooker. Kurtz coming in from the left side at an 11.85 against a pitcher that I wouldn't take lefty away from him with. 5 home runs so far for Kurtz. 8 on the board for Langoliers to lead the team. Rooker missed some time and got off to a very bad start. 111, 206, 222, 2 home runs on board, 2 stolen bases that are a little bit odd. 202 Wobo with a 263 X underneath it. All of that will improve dramatically over the next few weeks. 14.7% barrel rate is within expectations for Rooker. Love that piece. My hope is that people perceive struggles, 2,800, and they go around it. I love the discount on that bat. Colby Thomas, Zach Geloff, Darrell Arnaiz, Austin Wynns, and Brett Harris. Thomas, kind of mix and matchy, just another outfielder type, but showing a decent number in the home run model. Geloff is the interesting piece there, I think. 2,400 to fill second base with a righty bat in this ballpark with a little bit of power upside. 6.38 in the home run model. You got a lot of days of zeros out of Zach Geloff, but he's got a home run and 2 stolen bases in just 34 plate appearances. Last year, 101 pretty lost plate appearances. 547 chances back in 24. Went 17-25. 300 plate appearances the year before that. Went 14-14. There is multi-category talent there for fantasy that's very, very cheap to fill a light position like second base. And he won't be crazy popular amidst the popularity of other A's. So, reasonable piece. Arnaiz, just a mix and match, just another guy, but 3 position eligibility does make things work. Austin Wynns, not going to need him here. Brett Harris, probably not going to need him. But third base, again, very, very cheap. A's bats, Royals bats, A's bats. I would probably rather take this lineup to target that pitcher, despite where the Vegas totals are, but they're 1 and 2 on the points board. And that's it, gang. That is your slate. I'm going to build some lineups, take a nap. Top of the board, Paul Skeens again, just like yesterday. Skeens is his own tier, but we get a bigger next tier down. Chrissy Sanchez, Freddie Peralta, Logan Webb. Yesterday it was just Sanchez and Webb, and then we lost that game. Those 2 guys, in addition to Freddie Peralta. Realistically, I think Soroka's there, but I don't like the FanDuel price. Love the DraftKings price. And, excuse me, I say I don't like it because it's too high and it's more than I want to pay for him, but that does create a situation where Soroka probably goes under-owned. I would use Michael Soroka on this slate at that price, even with some of these options, if I'm building, a handful of lineups. I think I've got 5 for today. He'll probably be in one of those. Woodruff, Fromber, also a part of that group, right? Even with Fromber scuffling, even with him facing the Braves, any concerns about his projection difference, his perceived struggles to start the season are just alleviated by the cheap pricing. He's nicely discounted except for against everybody except for Soroka on DraftKings, where it's only a $200 difference. Either way with those guys, Framber's just in a dangerous situation with the Braves being as good as they are. Everybody else down the board, Elder's usable, but I don't like the pricing. Abbott, I really don't trust going up against the Rockies team that looks kind of frisky, 79-67. He is a part of your DraftKings bargain bin. I definitely think he's much more useful over there than he is over here. Bassett, probably in trouble at 64-62. I don't really like that as a bargain bin option. You're kind of light on those on DK. Lambert back on the board. Don't like the FanDuel price at all. Don't really like him on DraftKings either. That's not the pitcher that he's been in the first 2 starts this year. I'd be very surprised if that continues. So I think he's just overpriced on both. Your problem becomes you're really only getting Andrew Abbott from the bargain bin on DraftKings. It's a pricey pitching day on the DraftKings slate because Bassett is unlikely to even hit that. You don't need him to be good for 6,200, but you need him to be at least okay given all the talent on the board. Dobbins is pretty unlikely, but maybe at 65 you find some Ks against Pittsburgh. And the bottom 2 guys I just wouldn't be interested in using. Maybe you can get away with Miles Michaelis against the Mets, but it's an unlikely dart even at 55. Doesn't need to be good at that price, but that's not 4,000. Anyway, let me get out of here. 11:40. I'll get everything updated for the rush to lock. 35 minutes to go. Let me get some lineups built for myself. Good luck out there, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter. Discord is free. Don't have to be a subscriber or anything. It's linked in the description for this video below. Hop in there, join the community. Everything at Rotoscouts under $1 a day, all-in pricing, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NFL. Anything that hits that website is yours for the same under $1 a day across a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plan. Check it out. It's under $7 to get from this week from Thursday to Thursday, and get all those main slates for hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, every single main slate for baseball with tons of content. And I've been throwing some bonus stuff in for any nights, early slates. I don't know what there is today. I think there's only one late game, but maybe somebody picked up the doubleheaders. If there's an appreciable slate, maybe I'll project it. Go get them, gang. We'll see you tomorrow for a normally scheduled show, I would imagine. I think it's just going to be a regular evening Friday slate. Should be a big one. Should be a fun one to talk about tomorrow. One more time, good luck out there. Somebody go win something. See you.